They said it was an accident, that I just lost control. My name is Madison Hayes. I'm 32. And for a week, I started believing their version of the story, like it was my own. Because when everyone around you agrees on the same truth, you don't question it, you adjust to it. I woke up in a hospital bed, bruised, disoriented, alive, somehow. My mom cried. My dad stayed quiet. My brother? He avoided me completely, and no one asked the one question that mattered. What actually happened? They just kept saying, "You're lucky to be alive." But nothing about that night felt like luck. Not the way my brakes failed. Not the way my phone died. Not the way no one came looking for me. For hours. So I stopped asking them. And started paying attention. 1 week later, I checked my phone. One unread message. Sent minutes before the crash. From a number I didn't recognize. "Come now." With a location. Same road. Same exact spot. And that's when everything changed. Because I didn't end up there by accident. I was directed there. Stay with me. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. In my family, I wasn't the difficult one. I wasn't the favorite either. I was the one things passed through. Problems, decisions, tension no one wanted to deal with. If something broke, it somehow ended up with me. If something needed to be handled quietly, I was the one who handled it. No one said it directly. But over time, you start noticing patterns. Who gets protected? Who gets questioned? Who gets replaced? My brother Ethan, he never had to explain himself. Things just worked out for him. People filled in the gaps, gave him the benefit of the doubt, adjusted reality to fit him. With me, it was the opposite. If something didn't make sense, I was expected to explain it. And if I couldn't, then I became the problem. Not because I did something wrong, but because I didn't fit the version of the story they were already comfortable believing. It didn't feel unfair at first. That's what makes it dangerous. Because nothing was obvious. Nothing was loud. Nothing you could point to and say, "This is wrong." It was quieter than that. If Ethan made a mistake, the conversation shifted. Not toward what happened, but toward why it wasn't really his fault. If I raised a concern, the focus changed. Not on what I said, but on why I said it. My tone, my timing, my intention. And slowly, you stop being heard. Not because people ignore you, but because they reinterpret you. Until one day, you're not part of the conversation anymore. You're the reason it exists. And that's the moment everything flips. Because now, you're not trying to explain the truth. You're trying to prove you're not the problem. Then Chloe came into Ethan's life, and everything changed. At first, she was exactly what everyone expected. Polite, elegant, careful with her words. She didn't try to impress people loudly. She did it quietly. The kind of person who listens more than she speaks, and somehow gains trust faster because of it. My parents loved her instantly, said she was perfect for Ethan. And maybe that's what bothered me. Not her behavior, but how quickly everything aligned, too smoothly, too perfectly, like she already understood exactly how our family worked. The change didn't happen all at once. It was small, subtle, almost unnoticeable, unless you were paying attention. Chloe never attacked me directly. She didn't need to. Instead, she asked questions. Simple ones. "Does Madison always get involved like this? She seems very controlling, doesn't she?" Not accusations, just suggestions. The kind that don't sound serious until people start repeating them. And once that started, I noticed something I couldn't ignore. Ethan stopped defending me. At first, I thought it was just stress, Work, life, pressure. But it wasn't. It was distance. Intentional distance. Calls got shorter. Messages got delayed. Plans stopped including me. And when I asked, he didn't argue. He didn't explain. He just redirected. Why do you always have a problem with Chloe? I didn't. That was the problem. I didn't have proof. Just a feeling. And in a family where feelings didn't matter, that meant I had nothing. Then it became obvious. I wasn't just being pushed away. I was being replaced. Chloe started taking over everything I used to do, helping my mom, handling family plans, managing things behind the scenes. And everyone noticed. Not what was happening, but how perfect she was. She understands us. She fits right in. And me? I became the outsider. In my own family. Not because I changed. Because my role was given to someone else. That's when I started noticing something else. Something no one was talking about. Ethan wasn't just changing emotionally. He was making decisions. Fast ones, property discussions, ownership transfers, documents being updated quietly. And Chloe, she was always there, not involved directly, but influencing everything, every choice, every move. And every time I asked about it, Ethan shut it down immediately. Not defensive, controlled, like he didn't want me looking too closely. One night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I pulled Ethan aside. No drama, no accusations, just one sentence. Something isn't right. I told him everything. What I felt, what I noticed, what didn't make sense. And for a moment, he just looked at me, silent. Then he said, "You need to stop." Not, "You're wrong." Not, "You're overthinking." Just, "Stop." And that's when I knew. This wasn't just about Chloe anymore. A few days later, my mom called me. Her tone, different, colder. "Why are you trying to create problems?" I didn't understand at first, until she repeated something I had never said. Word for word. Accusations, claims, things twisted just enough to sound believable. And I realized someone had already told my story for me, just not the truth. And now, I wasn't just ignored, I was the problem. Then came that night. The message. Unknown number. "Come now." No name, no explanation, just urgency. I should have ignored it. Everything in me said, "Don't go." But something felt off. Not dangerous, just wrong enough to pull me in. So I went. Drove alone. Dark road. Empty stretch. No cars. No lights. And halfway there, my brakes failed. Not slowly. Instantly. The car spun. The road disappeared. And everything went black. And now, I understood something I didn't see before. That message wasn't random. It was timed. It was placed. And whoever sent it knew exactly where I would be. I kept going back to that message. "Come now." 2 words. Simple. Direct. But something about it felt intentional. I checked the timestamp again. Sent just minutes before the crash. Not hours. Not earlier in the day. Right before. And that detail changed everything. Because that wasn't coincidence. That was timing. Then I opened the location. And my chest tightened instantly. Because it wasn't just a road. It was specific. A quiet stretch outside the city. No traffic cameras. No nearby houses. No reason for anyone to be there at night. And suddenly, it didn't feel like a place. It felt like a setup. Because whoever sent that didn't just want me to come. They wanted me there. I forced myself to remember the drive. Every second. At first, everything felt normal. Then something changed. Subtle. Almost unnoticeable. The car didn't respond the same. The brakes didn't fail instantly. They felt wrong, like something wasn't connected properly, like the failure had already been waiting, and I didn't notice until it was too late. Then I thought back to the hospital, not what people said, but how they acted. My mom cried, but didn't ask questions. My dad avoided eye contact. And Ethan? He didn't ask what happened. Not once. He just stood there, quiet, watching, like he already knew the answer. That part didn't leave me, because Ethan wasn't passive. He never had been. If something went wrong, he reacted. He fixed it, controlled it. But this time, nothing. No anger, no urgency, just silence. And the more I thought about it, the less it felt like shock. And the more it felt like awareness. The next morning, I checked my phone again. Call logs, messages, everything. And that number wasn't completely new. There was a missed call, 2 days before the accident. Same number, same pattern. I never noticed it before, because I wasn't looking. But now, it didn't feel random anymore. It felt like a step. I sat there for hours, putting everything together: Chloe's behavior, Ethan's distance, the financial changes, the message, the location, and slowly, it started forming something, not clear yet, but structured, like pieces of a plan I was never supposed to see. There's a moment where doubt stops being doubt and becomes something heavier, colder, more real. Not maybe, but what if this was intentional? And once that thought enters your mind, you can't remove it, because suddenly, everything starts making sense in the worst possible way. That's when the fear changed. It wasn't about the accident anymore. It wasn't about what happened. It was about why it happened. Because accidents don't have timing, they don't have planning, they don't have messages leading you exactly where you need to be. But this did. And that meant one thing. Someone wanted me there. I stared at the number one last time. Long, carefully. Then I did something I wasn't ready for. I called it. The line rang. Once. Twice. Then, someone picked up. I didn't speak. Neither did they. Just silence, breathing on the other end, and in that moment, before a single word was said, I already knew. This wasn't a stranger. I didn't speak. Not because I didn't want to, but because something about that silence felt familiar. Not safe. Not comfortable. Recognizable. Like a conversation I'd had before. Just without words. Then I heard it. A breath. Slow. Controlled. You weren't supposed to call. And everything inside me went still. Because I didn't just hear a voice. I recognized a pattern. The same tone. The same control. The same way someone speaks when they already think they've won. I tried to convince myself I was wrong. That stress was distorting things. That I was connecting things that didn't belong together. Who is this? I asked. Simple. Controlled. But inside, everything was unstable. There was a pause. Not confusion. Recognition. Then, you shouldn't have gone there. No denial. No question. Just certainty. And that's when something shifted. Because strangers don't talk like that. Only people who expected you do. I didn't need confirmation, but I asked anyway. Chloe? Silence. Then a quiet breath. Yes. No panic. No excuse. No attempt to hide. Just acceptance. Like this moment was inevitable. And suddenly, every doubt I ignored stopped being small, because it wasn't one moment anymore. It was a pattern I had been standing inside the entire time. But then something hit me. Not what she said. When she said it, her voice wasn't rushed, wasn't stressed. It was measured. Like she wasn't reacting. She was checking. Then she asked, "Where are you right now?" That question changed everything, because she wasn't surprised I called. She was trying to figure out what I knew, which meant this wasn't over. They were still adjusting the plan. "Why did you message me?" I kept my voice steady. No emotion, no pressure. Because I didn't need her to panic. I needed her to talk. There was a pause. Then she said, "We didn't think you'd go that fast." We. That word didn't shock me anymore. It confirmed something worse. This wasn't influence. This wasn't manipulation. This was coordination. Then I heard it. Faint. Low. But clear enough. A second voice. And my entire body went cold. Ethan. Not distant. Not separate. Right there. With her. And in that moment, everything broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like something inside me just stopped existing. Then something else happened. Something small, but impossible to ignore. Ethan said, "Did anyone find the car yet?" Not, "What happened?" Not, "Are you okay?" The car. That one sentence exposed everything. Because you don't ask about evidence, unless you already know there's something to hide, and that's when it became clear. They weren't reacting to the accident. They were monitoring it. I didn't say anything. I just listened. And Chloe whispered, "He wasn't supposed to know." Not to me. To him. And that sentence removed the last piece of doubt. They didn't fail. They miscalculated. And I was never supposed to be part of this moment. Everything aligned instantly, not emotionally, logically. The distance, the manipulation, the financial changes. It wasn't chaos, it was structure. Chloe didn't just enter our lives, she studied them, understood weaknesses, positions, influence. And Ethan? He didn't get pulled in. He stepped in. Because plans like this don't work unless someone on the inside chooses to make them work. I didn't react. Didn't confront them. Didn't raise my voice. I ended the call. Slowly. Because I understood something now. This wasn't about exposing them. Not yet. This was about surviving them. Because people like that don't stop after one mistake, they correct it. And next time, there wouldn't be a message. There wouldn't be a warning. There would just be silence. If you've ever realized too late that someone wasn't against you by accident, they planned it, then you already understand this part. Because after that call, I wasn't confused anymore. I was dangerous. After I ended that call, I didn't move, didn't panic, didn't cry. I just sat there, processing something deeper than fear. Clarity. Because for the first time, I wasn't guessing anymore. I knew. And once you know something like that, you stop reacting. You start calculating. The first mistake I avoided? Going to them. Because people like Chloe don't break under pressure. They adjust, rewrite, redirect, reframe. And Ethan? He wasn't confused. He was involved. So if I confronted them now, I wouldn't expose them. I'd warn them. And that would be my biggest mistake. So instead, I disappeared from their expectations. The next day, I acted exactly the same. Answered calls, replied casually, spoke to my mom like nothing changed. And she believed it, which told me something important. She didn't know. Not everything. Which meant this plan had layers, and only certain people were allowed to see the full version. Then I called Ethan. Not to confront him. To test him. "Hey, I don't remember much," I said. Silence. Then, "Yeah, that happens. Too smooth. Too quick. Not concern. Relief." And that confirmed it. He wasn't reacting to what I said. He was checking if the story still worked. That call told me everything, because people who don't know the truth Ask questions. People who already know, avoid them. And Ethan didn't ask a single one, which meant he wasn't part of the aftermath. He was part of the setup. Then I moved to proof. The car inspection came back. Brake line damage, clean cut, deliberate, not failure, not accident, interference. And that was it. No more doubt. No more guessing. Just facts. Then I went deeper, into something I ignored before. Money, property changes, ownership shifts, documents updated quietly, and Chloe's name, it wasn't being added randomly, it was being placed, strategically, like someone planning control, not just influence. But then, I found something they didn't expect me to see. A document. Recent. Not finalized. Ethan's name. Still there. But Chloe's share? Temporary. Conditional. And suddenly, everything shifted. Because this wasn't just their plan, it was his plan too. Ethan wasn't just helping Chloe, he was using her, positioning everything under her name, to later take it back. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. They weren't a team. They were two people, using each other. That changed everything. Because now, this wasn't one threat. It was two. Chloe thought she was in control. Ethan thought he was smarter. And both of them thought I was gone. Which meant I was the only person who saw the full picture. And that was power. So I made one decision. Not emotional, strategic. I didn't go to family, didn't go to them. I went to someone who only deals in facts. And when they answered, I said one sentence. This wasn't an accident. Pause. I have proof. And I think they're turning on each other. Silence. Then, start from the beginning. And that's when everything changed. Because now, this wasn't just exposure, it was collapse. And I wasn't part of their plan anymore. I was the reason it was about to fall apart. If you've ever realized the people against you weren't even loyal to each other, you already know how dangerous that is. Because once trust breaks on both sides, everything burns. I didn't rush anything. That was the difference. Before, I reacted. Now, I controlled the pace. Every piece of evidence, the call recording, the break report, the financial documents, I handed it over. Clean, organized, complete. And then, I stepped back. Because real consequences don't need noise. They build quietly. And once they start, they don't stop. At first, nothing happened. No confrontation, no explosion, just pressure. Calls being made, records being checked, questions being asked. Ethan started getting contacted. Chloe stopped showing up. And my parents? They started noticing things they had ignored before. Because once doubt enters a story, it spreads. And the version they believed started breaking apart. The first real break was simple. The car report. Brake tampering, confirmed. Not theory. Not assumption. Fact. And facts don't argue. They don't explain. They just exist, forcing everyone to adjust around them. And once that truth came out, there was no story left to hide behind. Ethan called me that night. Late. His voice. Not controlled anymore. Shaking. Madison, I didn't think it would go that far. That sentence ended everything. Because he didn't deny it. He didn't defend himself. He exposed himself. Without even realizing it. And in that moment, I knew something important. Chloe didn't break first. Ethan did. I didn't interrupt him. I let him talk. Because guilt needs space. And when you give it space, it reveals everything. Chloe convinced him, step by step. Turned every concern into a threat. Every doubt into a problem. Made him believe I was the one standing in the way, that removing me was fixing his future. But here's the truth he didn't see. He wasn't fixing anything. He was being used. Because while Ethan was breaking, Chloe was already moving, trying to distance herself. Messages deleted, accounts cleaned, connections cut. But she made one mistake. She moved too late. Because everything was already documented. And when pressure hit, something happened neither of them expected. They turned on each other. Ethan blamed Chloe. Chloe blamed Ethan. And suddenly, their perfect plan collapsed from the inside. The moment everything ended wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was controlled. Statements, evidence, verification, each detail placed exactly where it needed to be. No emotions, just truth. And when both of them were faced with it, they stopped performing. Because you can manipulate people. You can manipulate stories, but you can't manipulate proof. My parents finally saw it, not because I explained it, because they had no choice. The truth was there, clear, unavoidable, and suddenly, everything changed. The daughter they questioned was the only one who didn't lie, but by then, it didn't matter, because some realizations come too late. I didn't go back, didn't fix anything, didn't ask for apologies, because I understood something now. Closure doesn't come from them. It never did. So I chose something else. Distance. Not anger. Not revenge. Just silence. Because when people lose access to you, that's when they understand your value. And by then, it's already gone. They called it an accident. Bad luck. Bad timing. Something no one could have predicted. But accidents don't send messages. They don't choose locations. They don't wait for you to show up exactly where they need you. People do. And the truth? It doesn't rush. It waits. In details people ignore, in patterns no one questions. Until one day, it stops hiding. And when it shows up, it doesn't ask for permission. It replaces the lie with reality. And the only mistake they made was thinking. I wouldn't survive long enough to see it. If you've ever trusted someone who didn't deserve it, subscribe. Because stories like this don't start with betrayal. They start with silence.